Hi guys, today's video is about harvesting some of this basil that we have and also making a basil garlic olive oil. Now, if you go to the store, you're going to find everything has gotten expensive. I notice it and I'm sure you do too. And even the basil, somebody wanted $13 for a bunch of basil. I've been real fortunate because in the past, I've had basil out here and it reseeded itself. So we have an enormous amount of basil in the back. Today, what we've done is gone out and harvested the tops of these basils. So we've trimmed the plant down so it will grow bushier. The other thing I'm doing is I am propagating basil plants like this for later on in the year. Now, I don't know if you can see this. Chelsea bought me these little jars, and they propagate your plants. So you can see that basil has a root right there. And this basil plant that I harvested today was one of the ones that I grew with this. I also have a larger one, and we've got a good rooting here too. So you can see that. Those are great because you can propagate your basil inside and then take it outside. And during the winter, I really miss my fresh basil. So by doing what we're doing today, you will be able to save it and use it throughout the winter. The other thing, there are several different types or different ways to save your basil. One year I tried the salt method where you take each individual leaf and layer it with salt. I found that didn't work real well. I didn't find the flavor of the basil to be as bright, and I just had so much basil salt, although that's not a bad thing. But let me start off with the olive oil. I have right here about 2 cups of olive oil, and I have 2 little jars that we will save it in. Because the olive oil has fresh garlic in it, even though the garlic is going to be cooked a little bit, you've got to be careful because you do not want to get botulism. And some people will put garlic into olive oil and leave it on the counter for weeks and weeks. That is dangerous. So you need to make sure that you heat your olive oil. It will also help to release the flavors. And then I suggest putting it into the refrigerator, and that way you will be safe. You certainly do not want to get sick off of something. So we've got our jars here. I've got several cloves of garlic. I sliced the garlic. We're going to strain this olive oil, so you're not going to get all these bits and pieces, but we are going to use a potato masher to help release some of the flavors. So this is on low, and it's been heating up about 5 minutes. It's not going to fry anything. It is just going to basically kill the bacteria, kill any germs or anything like that you might have in it. I've got about a cup of basil, and I might put a little bit more in. So we're gonna go ahead and put that in there. And I do hear it sizzling, and that's because of the water. So we're gonna go ahead and put a little bit more in and turn this down. That's the water you're hearing. I'm gonna take these now and I'm gonna press, just like that. And what I'm doing is I'm basically muddling this flavor into the olive oil. So letting this go, and we'll do that. It's already turning a greenish color. So the fire is off now. I do not want to fry anything. What I want to do is just get that flavor. So it's being muddled right now. Perfect. There we go. And we're just, as you can still hear the dampness that was on the basil. So we're going to keep that off, and we're going to let that cool down for a bit while I go ahead and do other things. I could do this in an ice tray to save the basil, or I can do it in plastic bags. And the ice tray tends to take up a little bit more space, So what I'm going to do today is put it in plastic bags and flatten it. it'll be easier to store in your refrigerator. So we start off, as I said, when you harvest your basil, you basically want to cut in front of one of the branches. So say like, let me find one. So here, when you harvest, you would want to cut right here, so it would branch out. I'm going to go ahead and strip some of this basil. I also like to use the stems. A lot of people throw it away. Right now, it's a good time to learn how to be frugal, and the stems of your herbs really make a difference. They contain a lot of flavor. So we're gonna go ahead and peel this off. I'll just keep the stems here. There we go. And sometimes it's good to do this a little bit of time at a time. You can strip it like that. There you go. And like I said, if you get a little bit of the stem in there, it's not gonna hurt. And even in some of my spaghetti sauces, I do chop up the stems very finely and use that in there. A little bit of texture, as well as ensuring that you are getting the max flavor out of your basil. This basil has already been washed and all ready to go. So we are almost there. And this will be our first round because I've got enough basil to do several rounds of food processing. There we go. Now I'm going to pulse it. Just like that. And I'll show you what it looks like. There we go. The next part, we take that basil just like that. And holding on to the blade. Well, maybe not. I might have to do it this way. Sometimes things aren't always so perfect when you do these videos. We're gonna go ahead and do it like this. I have frozen leaves whole in bags before, and I find that the whole leaves are difficult to deal with when you go ahead and make a sauce. So if you do it this way, you're prepared for your fresh pasta sauce. It smells so wonderful. There is nothing better than the smell of fresh basil when you're getting it all together and then it goes into a pot of spaghetti. Oh my gosh. We had a beautiful chicken caprese last night, and we smoked chicken, and right before it was finished, about 10 minutes before it was finished smoking, we put some mozzarella cheese on it, and then let that smoke for another 10 minutes. Then put fresh Creole tomatoes on top, didn't cook the tomatoes, and then used this fresh basil on top. I like it with aged balsamic vinegar. Mark likes it with extra fine olive oil, extra virgin olive oil. And that's what we had for dinner. It was marvelous. And the basil just added so much texture and so much freshness to it. So see what we've got? I'm using the little flat bags, and I get all the air out, press all the air out, and seal it. So it looks like this. When you freeze it, you just freeze it just like that. The nice thing about doing it this way is if you don't need this entire bag, you can break it in half and you're good to go. And just pop the rest of it back in the freezer. Use it frozen. So if your spaghetti sauce is hot, just go ahead and use it frozen. You're good to go. Let's check this olive oil here and see how we're doing. Oh, perfect. Perfect. I'm gonna let this steep a few more minutes. I'm gonna turn off the video, go ahead and process some more, and then we'll be back with you. we're back. We've packed several bags of freezer-ready basil, and we marked them. Worst thing you can do is put them in the freezer and then not know what's in the bag. I did that a few years ago, and it's best to mark them. So we've got several bags. I'll do this again as we get closer to fall because my basil is really going great right now. This has been steeping for about 35 minutes. I even added a little bit more basil into it. I put the stems from what I was using earlier, so that gave it more flavor, and it will intensify the basil flavor. So what we're gonna do right now is I've got a strainer set up where I've got my strainer here. I'll pour it through and it'll come out in the bowl. I have my jars ready. I will not put it in the jars till it cools off a little bit more because it's still a little warm. We're going to take this, I'm going to pour it right in here. See all the debris that we're going to catch? There we go. Let's go ahead and get the rest of that. Beautiful. Make sure we get all that olive oil. And put this over here. So, here's the next part of it. You're going to want to press this down. See the olive oil? Okay, so we finished pressing the olive oil, and this is what it looks like. It still has some debris in it, and you can get the debris out by putting a little bit of a strainer over the jar and just straining that through there. As I said earlier, you're going to want to make sure that you put this in your refrigerator to keep it. It'll firm up a bit, but you can use it just like it is. Do not leave it on the counter because it has the garlic in it. And I hope you enjoy this. You can do it, like I said, with all different types of herbs, and you can make your own flavored olive oils. It's easy, and you can also preserve your harvest so you can have it all year around. I hope you enjoy it. Have fun doing it. Talk to you later. Bye.